Do you know what your weaknesses are? Really, do you? It's a question that can make even the most self-assured among us squirm. But here's the thing. Weaknesses are not our downfall. They're our human trademarks, our opportunities to grow, learn, and become better versions of ourselves. We all have weaknesses. Yes, every single one of us. You, me, the most successful person you admire, they all have weaknesses. And that's perfectly okay. It's normal. It's human. What's not okay is ignoring them, brushing them under the carpet, pretending they don't exist. Because when we do that, they become the invisible hurdle standing between us and our full potential. Identifying your personal weaknesses isn't about self-deprecation, it's about self-awareness. It's about looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, this is who I am, warts and all, and I'm okay with that. Because once you've identified your weaknesses, you can start working on them. You can turn them into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks on your journey to success. These weaknesses could be anything. Maybe you're not the best at public speaking, or perhaps you tend to take on too much responsibility. You might be a perfectionist, always striving for the unattainable ideal, or you could be someone who's not comfortable taking risks. It could be that you're self-critical, always second-guessing yourself, or maybe you're not as detail-oriented as you'd like to be. There's a wide spectrum of potential weaknesses, and they're not one-size-fits-all. What might be a weakness for one person could be a strength for another. It's all about context, about understanding where you shine and where you could use a little polish. And remember, these weaknesses are not permanent flaws etched in stone. They're simply areas where you haven't yet reached your full potential. And the first step to reaching that potential, to transforming those weaknesses into strengths, is acknowledging them. So take a moment, reflect. Ask yourself, what are my weaknesses? Be honest with yourself. Trust me, it's worth it. Because knowing your weaknesses isn't a sign of failure. It's the first step towards growth and success. Let's dive into some common weaknesses. You might identify with some of them. First up, being disorganized. This is about more than just a messy desk. It's about how you manage your time, tasks, and responsibilities. If you find yourself constantly scrambling to meet deadlines or forgetting important tasks, then you might be disorganized. This can lead to stress, missed opportunities, and even career stagnation. But don't worry, getting organized is a skill that can be learned and honed with time and practice. Next, we have being self-critical. It's good to have high standards, but not when it leads to constant self-doubt or negative self-talk. If you're always feeling like you're not good enough or that you could have done better, then you might be too self-critical. This can hinder your progress, dampen your morale, and even affect your mental health. The key here is to strike a balance between striving for improvement and acknowledging your achievements. The third is being a perfectionist. Perfectionism is when you set excessively high performance standards for yourself, and anything less than perfect is unacceptable. While it can drive you to excel, it can also lead to burnout, stress, and dissatisfaction. It's important to realize that perfection is an unrealistic goal, and it's okay to make mistakes. They are opportunities for learning and growth. The fourth weakness is not being adept at public speaking. If you clam up, stutter, or get extremely nervous when speaking in front of others, then this might be a weakness for you. It can limit your ability to effectively communicate your ideas, lead teams, or make presentations. The good news is that public speaking is a skill that can be improved with practice and experience. Lastly, we have being competitive. A little competition can spur motivation and innovation, but excessive competitiveness can lead to a toxic work environment. If you're constantly comparing yourself to others or trying to outdo your colleagues, then you might be too competitive. It's essential to remember that success is not a zero-sum game. Everyone can win. Remember, recognizing these weaknesses is essential to personal and professional growth. Still with us? Here are some more common weaknesses. Let's delve deeper into some other areas you might identify as weaknesses. First up, we have limited experience in a non-essential skill. This could mean you're not as familiar with a certain software program or don't have much experience in a particular industry. However, it's important to note that this is non-essential. So while it might be a weakness, it's not necessarily a deal breaker. Next, we come to not skilled at delegating tasks. This is a common issue, especially for those who like to take charge or who worry about other people's ability to get the job done right. But remember, delegation is a skill that can be learned and honed over time. Another common weakness is taking on too much responsibility. It sounds like a strength, right? But taking on more than you can handle can lead to stress, burnout, and ultimately mistakes. It's important to know your limits and to communicate them effectively. Now, let's talk about being not detail-oriented. Some people are big-picture thinkers, and that's okay, but if you often miss the small details, it could lead to bigger problems down the line. Again, this is something that can be improved with practice and conscious effort. Finally, we have risk aversion. Being cautious can be a good thing in many situations. However, if your fear of taking risks is holding you back from opportunities, it might be time to step out of your comfort zone a bit. These are just a few examples of common weaknesses. It's important to remember that everyone has weaknesses. The key is to recognize them, understand how they affect you, and take steps to manage them effectively. It's not about being perfect, it's about being self-aware and committed to personal growth. Identifying with any of these? That's okay. The next step is managing them. Knowing your weaknesses is half the battle. Now, how do we manage them? Firstly, let's consider the case of being self-critical. It's okay to be critical of ourselves, but when it borders on negative self-talk, it's time to take action. One solution is to actively pause and celebrate achievements. This not only boosts self-esteem, but also encourages appreciation for your team and support systems. When it comes to lacking confidence, it's essential not to let it hinder your professional growth. For instance, if you're naturally shy, it could prevent you from speaking up and contributing valuable ideas. A practical way to overcome this is by joining activities that encourage interaction and expression, such as an improv acting class. This can help build confidence and leadership skills, making it easier to share diverse perspectives in group settings. Next, if you have difficulty asking questions or seeking help, it's important to realize that you can't solve every problem on your own. It's crucial to step back, assess the situation, and identify people or groups who can be resources. By doing so, you'll not only enhance your problem-solving skills, but also foster a collaborative work environment. Lastly, if you're lacking experience in a particular area, don't see it as a setback. Instead, look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow. For instance, if you're not familiar with a certain software or tool, take the initiative to learn about it. You can enroll in online courses, read relevant materials, or seek help from colleagues. In all these cases, the key is to be aware of your weaknesses and take proactive measures to manage them. It's not about being perfect, but about continuous growth and improvement. Remember, the goal is not to eliminate weaknesses, but to learn how to work with them. In the end, it's about turning these weaknesses into strengths, or at the very least, learning to navigate them efficiently. Remember, managing weaknesses is not about eradicating them, but about learning how to work with them. Still with us? Great, let's continue with managing those weaknesses. Have you ever found yourself pushing a task to the next day, and the next, and the next? This, my friends, is known as procrastination. It's a common weakness, but not an insurmountable one. One way to overcome this is by breaking tasks down into manageable chunks. Time management tools can be of great help too. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and so does every task. Now let's talk about being self-critical. It's good to hold high standards for yourself, but not when it becomes a crippling cycle of self-doubt and negativity. If you find yourself constantly feeling like you're not good enough, take a step back. Reflect on your achievements, no matter how small they seem. Celebrate them. It's about progress, not perfection. And when you make mistakes, as we all do, view them as learning opportunities, not as a measure of your worth. And then there's the discomfort with taking risks. It's natural to want to stay in your comfort zone, but growth often happens when we step outside of it. The fear of failure can be daunting, but remember, every successful person has failed at some point. The key is to see each failure as a stepping stone towards success. Start by taking small risks, and gradually, you'll build your confidence to take on bigger challenges. In all of these instances, it's crucial to remember that self-improvement is a journey, not a destination. It's about making small, consistent changes over time. And don't forget to reach out for support when you need it. Whether it's a mentor, a coach, or a supportive friend, having someone to share your journey with can make all the difference. And there you have it. Remember, everyone has weaknesses. It's how you manage them that matters.